Hi everybody, this is Plug Spinner, and today we're going to be picking, gutting, and upgrading this Yale Deadbolt. So first thing we're going to do is just pick it normally, and as you'll see, it will not release this deadbolt. And then after that, I'm going to open up the back of the lock here and show you why just picking it won't open the deadbolt and what we have to do to get around that. And then after all of that, I'm going to gut it, show you what's inside, and we're going to upgrade it with some security pins because it definitely doesn't feel like there's any in there. It's really easy to pick, as you'll see. And I just want to try to see if we can make it maybe a little bit more pick resistant. And then at the end, we will try to pick it one more time and see if it's a little bit harder to get into. So I'm going to cut the video now in case something goes catastrophically wrong. That way I don't need to redo the whole intro. So we will be back in just a second. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just pick it open normally. I'm going to use top of keyway tension and a slimline hook from Southord. Pretty heavy tension. And it's only 4 pins, so it shouldn't be too hard. Pin 1 is set, 2 is set, 3 is set, and 4. So we're open. We're going to rotate this all the way around. Hold on, it got stuck on those driver pins, so push those out of the keyway. Keep going. Oops. And as you see, we did not get an open. And I'll take off the back and show you why. Just one screw, and then this back piece comes right off. And as you can see, the plug is not actually attached to the actuator. It's only attached to this brass plate above the actuator, which has no notches or anything to grab this. So you can see we can manually move the actuator, and the plug and the plate will stay exactly where they are. But what you'll notice is at the bottom of the keyway, there's a little notch. So what happens is if you had a key for this, the bottom of the key would grab that and force it to open when you open the lock. So what we have to do now is we're going to pick it again. I'm going to stick the end of a tension wrench, the long piece, all the way down to the back so that it catches that notch, and then we should get an open. I'm just going to leave the back off because we don't really need it. And let's give it a shot. So top of keyway tension again, heavy tension, and let's pick it open again. Okay, pin 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is open. It turned very slightly. We're going to put our tension wrench in the bottom and rotate with the tension wrench there the whole time so that it stays behind that notch. And we should get an open right now. And we did. So now what we're going to do is we will disassemble the lock and see what's inside, and then hopefully throw some security pins in to make it harder to pick. So let's take out this spring. Then we will use the butt of our pick to take out these 2 screws. I do have a screwdriver right there, but the flat end part is too thick to fit in here. But the pick is perfect. Okay, so there's 1 screw. I apologize for the dogs barking in the background. My landlord lives in the apartment below me, and his dog is constantly barking. Okay, got the 2nd screw out. Now we should be able to remove this plate. Comes right off. As you can see, there's no notches. That's why it does not initiate this actuator by itself. Take off the actuator. And now we can take out the deadbolt itself. This is that piece. And then we are not going to take the Bible out because as you can see, there's 2 little crimps right here. And I don't really want to destroy the lock. And you can actually see the the springs up here. So there's no cap on this. The lock body itself is acting as the cap. So we're just going to take the plug out, and then we'll gut the Bible portion just from inside the lock body. And we'll throw some security pins in and see if it makes it harder to pick. So I do not have a key, so we're going to have to pick it one more time like this in order to remove the plug. Heavy tension. Okay, pin 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn the plug partially. We're going to put the key pins up like this so they don't fall out. And then we will use our, this is a quick set Schlage follower. And we will just push that out. Okay, I will put this over here for now. And we will start with the plug. As you can see, there is a little bit of room above each pin, so security pins should come into play, no problem. Standard pin in 1, standard in 2, that's a standard in 3, and standard in 4. These do have little tapers at the top. I'll show you. Sorry, this is all grease from the inside of the lock. So I'm not sure what the purpose of those tapers are, but they are there. And now let's see what is inside the Bible. Move this closer. Okay, so chamber 1 is standard. Oops. 2 is a standard. 3 standard. And oop, we got him. 4 is also standard. So hopefully throwing some security pins in here will make it a little more difficult to pick, because you can pretty much just bully this thing open with heavy tension and forcing everything up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have some spools and serrated pins here, and I do have some of those chess pins as well from Sparrows. So for that, I'm going to put these key pins back in just to see where they kind of lay in the plug again, to figure out which security pins would be best. So that first pin is pretty far in there, so I'm thinking a chess piece for that, just because there's a good amount of opportunity for these edges to get caught. I'm just gonna use, I'm trying to find the rook. Yeah, I'll use the rook piece for chamber 1. I'm just gonna put it in so these, let me get this to focus, those little sharp edges on the bottom, so that'll get caught up. And I usually just put them in here to check to make sure that it's gonna be below the shear line, which it will. So those will come into play. So we'll keep that for chamber 1. I think I'm gonna put a serrated in 2, just a regular serrated, because there's not a ton of room above that key pin. Okay, let's see if that will come into play. It will. Those serrations are below the shear line. Let me focus this again. Sorry about that. Chamber 2 is about the same, so I might just do another serrated in 2. And then 3 is a little bit lower than 2 and 3, so I'm going to put in a spool there. Let me find one. Okay, there's a spool. So we will put a spool in the last chamber. So we're going to have a chess pin, the rook piece, 2 serrated, and a spool. So I'm going to go ahead and load that back up. And then after that, we will try to pick it again. So let's get this follower in just a little bit. And let's start with that spool. Make sure I get it in there correctly. Looks good. Fumbling with it a little bit in here. Hold on. The lock, the Bible is a little bit wobbly in here, so it's kind of hard to position the pins. Okay, I got 4 in, so that was the spool. I'm gonna put the serrated in for 3. Okay. Another serrated for 2. And in the first chamber, we're going to put the rook with the 2 sharper serrations pointing toward the plug so that they come into play. Okay, and I'm going to put these key pins back in the same way they were before. Actually, they're already in there. I was looking at the driver pins and thought they were key pins. So we're all ready to reassemble this, to leave the plug the way, or the plug follower the way it is, and then just push this back in. Okay, so we got that in. We're going to rotate it to lock it. Okay, that's locked back in place, and now we're going to reassemble everything that was in the back. So first thing is the deadbolt itself. Just slides right up there. Then we're going to put in the actuator and the brass plate. And let's go ahead and get those screws back in. I'll probably go, when I start picking this again, I'll go for about a minute. So, I mean, if it lasts a minute without me picking it, I would consider that significantly harder to pick, because as you saw, this only took about like less than 10 seconds to pick each time so far with those standards in there. Okay, got the first screw in. Come on. Sorry, it's pretty awkward using this pick, but I don't have a single screwdriver that fits in these screws. Okay, we got that one in. So now we're going to put this spring back. Put this right on top of the actuator. Works nicely, and then we have to, well, we don't have to, but I'm going to put this back piece back on. You just got to make sure this piece right here lines up with the actuator inside. I mean, it actually doesn't really matter because we don't have another lock on the other side here, but normally this would have to be lined up. Okay, we got that in. And finally, we will try to pick it one more time and see if it's any harder to get into. So we have this top of keyway tensioner. I'm going to use a little lighter tension now because we have security pins, and let's give it a try. Okay, a little caught up on pin 2. I might have overset both 1, 2, and actually 1 is down again. It's not binding. 2 feels like it might be overset. 3 feels like it might be overset. So we'll keep going. We'll see if we can get it open. Two is bound again. I got another little click out of 2. So I think we're still caught on the serrations, actually. 3. Got a little crunch out of 3. We're in a bit of a false set now. Pin 4. Counter rotation on 4. That's that spool we put in. And we did get an open. So I'm going to put the tension wrench at the bottom again so that we can get a full open with the deadbolt and everything. And we're going to rotate. And we got an open. So definitely a little bit more challenging than the standard pins. We could probably make it a little harder by adding threading or something, but I'm not really going to bother. I also can't really access that Bible, so the threads would only be in the plug. But yeah, definitely a little bit harder to pick, a little more feedback, so it's better choice for practicing. But yeah, pretty cool lock. I've never seen anything like this before. I found this at a thrift store near me for $3 and thought I would pick it up just to see what it's about. I was surprised it's 4 pins, but I mean, pretty nice lock. So that is our video for this week. I hope you did enjoy, and thank you for watching. Have a nice day.